Hello, everyone. Welcome to Where Are All the Women? With my hair. I'm Meghan Murphy. This is Mary Lou Singleton.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing, Mary Lou?
I'm agitated.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty angry. Tired and angry. I don't mean whenever I say angry, I feel angry. I feel like I am going to be misinterpreted as though I'm like walking around in the world feeling angry all the time, and I'm not, because people like to accuse me of that sometimes on the internet, like people who don't like me and want to insult me, like you must be really angry, you must be really miserable all the time, and I'm like, no, I don't. Like, it's not like because of what's happening politically I'm walking around in the world feeling angry. I don't mean to say I never get angry in my personal life, of course I do, but I'm not taking, social media posts out into the real world per se, but I'm feeling very annoyed and angry at the rhetoric coming from whatever you want to call them, the left, progressives, liberals, Democrats. Like, I'm completely blown away at the lack of self-awareness and the hypocrisy and this all of a sudden, oh, we do believe in cancel culture. Suddenly cancel culture is real and we're being canceled. And what about our free speech? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, are you kidding me? For the past decade, you have been having people fired, criminalized, destroying their lives, ostracizing them from society, ruining people's lives.
Right.
Over words that they said on social media that you didn't like about politics and ideology. And now that you are openly celebrating the murder of a man, politicized violence, you're pretending that it's not political. You're telling people to stop politicizing this. You're insisting this isn't a left versus right issue. Again, after making everything a left versus right issue because you wanted so badly to vilify the right as dangerous Nazis so that you could criminalize them all. Right. And then complaining about cancel culture and telling us that cancel culture isn't real. And like, oh, so what, Meghan? You've been banned from Twitter and now everybody in the world uses this as an excuse to ensure that you can't speak in public because she's so bad that she was even banned from Twitter. Like, she's such a bad person that she got banned. Like, that was used as an excuse against me to vilify me, put my life in danger.
Right.
Like,
well, they're saying like you've been banned from Twitter and that's how we know you're a bad person. And out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying cancel culture is a right-wing myth. It doesn't exist.
And it doesn't really affect people that much.
No, it doesn't affect anyone.
Oh, so what? So you lost your job. Like, so you got fired. So some of your friends are mad at you. Oh no. So people are mean to you. So people don't like you. As if it wasn't about, like, first of all, losing your friends is a really big deal.
It is a big deal.
Getting fired from your job is, of course, a really big deal because this is how you support yourself. But also, for most of history, if you were ostracized from your community, you would die. Like, if you got kicked out of your tribe, that meant you would die. Like, you couldn't survive on your own as a human industrial society, right? Like,
I know
it was a death sentence in so many ways, and still, even like, we're still human. This is all we have is our relationships, our communities. We pretend that it's not, especially in urban settings. Like, I just need my Netflix and my food deliveries or whatever. But in reality, I mean, that's why these people are also miserable, because they have no friends or communities and they don't know their neighbors. But like, it is a really, really serious punishment. And they weren't just advocating that people lose their friends and lose their jobs. They were advocating that people be jailed for hate crimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Punch a TERF, punch a Nazi in the face. Oh, and everyone I disagree with is a Nazi. It's like absolutely advocating violence, getting people fired from their jobs, getting tenured professors kicked out of their positions over their COVID beliefs, over their gender beliefs, on and on. and now they're getting a taste of their own medicine and they don't like it. And I have to say, I don't like it watching the right dox and dogpile and try to get people fired. I don't like that behavior. I don't.
No, I don't like it either.
I don't like it. But I also, what I hate even more is hypocrisy. So I'm not liking seeing the right doing this because I think it's hypocritical after complaining about the same behavior. But I really don't like the left who have been chanting for 15 years now, there are consequences to your speech. And, there are consequences to having these odious beliefs and expressing them. And that's good you got fired. That's good you lost all your friends. That's, it's your fault you're getting rape and death threats. Suddenly not enjoying being on the other side of that same behavior.
Yeah, and the refusal to acknowledge how serious it was, what they did to so many people over the past 10 years, I don't like it either. I don't like seeing people saying, I think I did like JD Vance's remarks that he made on the Charlie Kirk show. I don't know if you saw those online. I'll try to link to them below in the show notes for anyone who didn't watch. It was quite a moving speech. And part of what he said was against these, calls for unity. He was like, no, like, screw you, no. But I think he also said something like, when you see people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, like, yeah, call their employer. So I don't like that. I feel like that's not very classy. I understand the sentiment. Like, it's like, I get, I removed people from my followers and unfollowed them on Instagram because I just was like, I don't want to look at this in your stories. And you're not part of my life anyway. So what difference is, like, it's, they'd be people that it's like, I don't see you in real life. So what does it really matter if we follow each other on Instagram? Like, but the fact that you're posting these really, really hateful, grotesque things that are, either justifying the murder or, glorifying it or celebrating it. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to be friends with you. I don't really like this. Like, I don't really have a lot of respect for this behavior. So maybe I don't respect you. And if I don't respect you, then maybe I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
And because I kept being tempted to say something, and I don't think I want to do that. Like, I really don't like, first of all, I don't like engaging over social media or text in general. I feel like I would rather talk to somebody, but I don't want to have an argument with somebody over social media or over DMs. I really don't enjoy doing that. And so I usually avoid saying anything at all when I see people posting things like that. But because I was seeing these things in their stories, kept feeling like triggered to say something and being like, should I say something? Like, should I be like, hey, middle-aged man, since when did you adopt the politics of a 17-year-old girl?
I know. Like, I don't think people ever change each other's minds on social media. I don't think it's worth engaging. Michelle asked, if I owned a practice and I had an employee who denied biological truths, would I be okay with that? Okay, one, I don't like having employees for this reason. I'm really a lone wolf in a lot of ways. I just don't like having to deal with this. But I think it's different for an employer to find out themselves that their employee has behaved poorly and decide to discipline or fire that person, then I think it is to have a gang of people call your employer trying to get you fired. I do think there's a hair to be split there, right? Like, that's I'm not sure where the line is, but no, I personally would not hire a midwife who denied biological reality. If I had a midwifery practice and was hiring midwives and nurses and employees, I wouldn't feel safe with an employee who denied biological truths. But this would all come up in a job interview. This would all come up long before I hired the person. If I found out about it on social media, but they were keeping this to themselves in the workplace, I'm not sure. Like, that, I think that a true rabid trans activist wouldn't work for a TERF, right? So I just don't even know how this would even come up in that context.
I mean, I think these are good questions that you're asking, Michelle. And I think Okay, so and just for those who are not seeing these questions because you're watching on YouTube, so Michelle is saying, or maybe you can, I'm not sure. Would you want to know if a midwife in your practice denied biological truths? And then she says, if you owned the practice and they were an employee. So I think that, an employer can fire, I think. An employer, you own a private business, you have employees. I think you can fire your employees for whatever reason you want to.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you see your employee celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, I think it's totally fair to be like, I don't want to pay this person to work for me. I don't even want to be around this person.
Right.
I'm not even saying, I don't know. I'm not even saying don't call somebody's employee. I don't know. It gives me the ick, that kind of behavior for some reason. And maybe I'm not exactly able to articulate why beyond the fact that I think that it's not very classy behavior. And I don't want to be a hypocrite in the way that I'm seeing the left be so hypocritical. So, and I have been thinking about this question all week of whether or not, first of all, this kind of stuff qualifies as hate speech, because I don't like the term hate speech.
I don't believe
that there is. Well, I think if you're openly advocating for the murder of somebody, if you're openly advocating violence against somebody, that could qualify as hate speech. Or would you just call that a crime because it's
I would call that a
illegal?
crime. Yeah, like you're inciting to violence. That is a crime.
Yeah. Okay.
With your speech. So that's already illegal, to incite people to violence. But I don't believe expressing your opinions. I think it's odious to celebrate an assassination, but I think the First Amendment gives you a right to express that opinion.
Yeah.
And I do think if an employer finds that out organically, they would have a right to fire it. I don't like watching this gleeful doxing and dogpiling and calling people's employers to get them fired. I think it's just too reminiscent of what's been happening on the left for 15 years.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I do think people have the right to be like, I'm glad he died. I think you're a gross person, but you can say that, I think that is different than openly calling for someone's death or advocating for violence against somebody, which happened to me over and over and over and over again, and which I believe was contributed to by politicians and public figures. The mayor of my city publicly called me despicable. The mayor of Toronto vilified me ahead of my talk where I was, protested by 700 people. There was the protest. It was such a small space that this was an event organized in, I think, 2019 in Toronto for me to speak about gender identity, ideology, and the law and the impact on women's rights. And it was at the Toronto Public Library, and it became this big, huge debate. These two writers started a petition to have the event canceled, of course, it turned out well in a lot of ways, because Vickery Bowles, who was the city librarian, she didn't defend me. She defended my right to speak at the library, and that, the library is a place for free expression and free speech. And that's the point of the library. And she was vilified over doing that on the CBC and things like that. So I think that was good. But anyway, that was probably the most scary of all the protests that I've had to face over the years, because there were so many people, and they had to block off the entire block behind the library just so that I could get in. And there was so many police cars, and I had my private bodyguards, but there was a huge police presence. And I was supposed to do media interviews after the event, which, again, the space that they rented could only hold 100 people. So it was a talk for 100 people being protested by 700 people. And the police wouldn't let me do the media interviews because they were so scared. They were visibly scared because Antifa were there. And all of them had really scary experiences with Antifa, where they throw shards of glass into their eyes and things like that. And they're like, you can't do talks. We're getting you out of here. And they're like, do you want us to cover you with a jacket when you leave? And I was like, no, I'm not fucking hiding. Fuck this. But it was so scary for all the people coming into the building through the front who were being screamed at and threatened and harassed. There was just so many really scary things that happened to me, because of the way that I was treated by the media and politicians. And then you pretend that it's just like, first of all, not a big deal, and that it didn't put me in serious danger, and that like I deserved it also because, maybe I shouldn't say things like trans women or men.
Yeah, exactly. And this has been going on. That's not the only event where this happened to you. Every time you try to speak, you're mobbed with men threatening violence and their handmaidens, and the cops don't stop them from threatening you. Look at what happened to Riley Gaines on the on college campuses, on the college campus, and I think it was was it at Berkeley or UCLA, where she was locked in a room and people basically kidnapped her, wouldn't let her leave the premises. The left has been behaving like this for over a decade now and thought they could get away with it forever. And they don't like it that the tide has turned. Like, normies are sick of this. The masses are on the side of Charlie Kirk and his family right now. And what's the right doing? Deciding to behave exactly like the left has been. And they're just going to make more people hate them, and the stupid pendulum's just going to keep swinging back and forth.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, the glaring difference to me between what the left did for the past 10 years and what the right is doing now in response to this politicized violence and justification for an erasure of the fact that it was politicized violence and, again, celebration of the murder, is that what people were being counseled for by the left were really just mostly pretty innocuous opinions and events that were twisted into something else. So, for example, saying, men aren't women, saying that men aren't women is obviously, first of all, not a bad thing to say because it's true,
right?
But it's not dangerous. It's not hateful. It's not violent, celebrating being like, yeah, somebody killed Charlie Kirk, right on. Like, that's a pretty different thing to say. And again, I'm not saying that it should qualify as hate speech or that anybody should be criminalized for doing that, but it's different. And think about what people were counseled for over the years. And it was telling the truth about COVID, trying to share information about treatments for COVID, like ivermectin, criticizing the vaccine mandates, criticizing the idea of it being a vaccine at all, and saying that there were only two sexes.
Right. Well, and I want to back up and say also on the point you're making is, you're right. I have yet to see people on the political right harass and threaten violence in a mob to a leftist speaker. Like that is not happening. There's nothing analogous to what's happened to you, what happened to Riley Gaines, which has happened to so many gender critical women. There's nothing analogous to that happening right now. I'm just worried if the pendulum swings in that direction, we're just going to see the same behavior from, like, I'm terrified it's going to turn to that.
I think this whole thing is making people move even further from the left than they already had been.
Yeah.
What we saw people leaving the left, I think, in droves over the past, I don't know, 3 to 5 years or something, because leftist rhetoric had become so insane and because of their efforts to silence anybody with a different opinion. And because of their elitism and, their condescension to anybody rural or working class or anybody who, didn't go to an elite university and so on and so forth. And now, this really horrific, really scary thing happens. And, Charlie Kirk was killed because he was talking about things that the left didn't want him to talk about. Because he was having these open debates, because he was very respectful about it. So he wasn't the right look. Like, they wanted him to be this horrible, evil, mean, cruel, hateful villain, but he really wasn't that person.
Right.
So they killed him.
Exactly. And because they couldn't debate him, because we've had close to 20 years of the policy on the left being no debate. Any debate is erasure. Any questioning of our beliefs is hateful. So no one on that side of the political spectrum has learned to defend their ideas and their beliefs, because they haven't allowed any dialogue at all. Where what Charlie Kirk was offering was an opportunity to hone your arguments. Go ahead and debate him. They didn't have any debates. They just have, I think you're bad, and I'm going to spout platitudes like trans women are women.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you want to ask a question or leave a comment in the live chat for us to address on the stream, please use the super chat so that I see it. I think that the left is just their hypocrisy and their hateful behavior is just so, it's impossible to ignore at this point. And I think that it's doing the opposite of what they want, which is, forcing people to move even further away from the Democrats and towards the right. So I think if they had an opportunity for the pendulum to swim back to them prior to this event, they really destroyed it now. I mean, like, how dare you complain about cancel culture now?
Exactly. I know, it's so ugly. It's just,
and how dare you call for unity? I mean, at what point has the left ever called for unity? All the left has ever done has been divisive, and the right's been divisive as well. You know, the right also like talks ad nauseum about communists. And calls everybody on the left or everybody that they kind of disagree with a communist.
As someone who's been an advocate for abortion rights for a really long time, I'm very, very familiar with the threat of violent men on the right. They killed multiple abortion providers in this country. Like, that was happening.
Violent men did?
Violent right-wingers killed, right-wing men killed, countless, at least 7 abortion providers, George Tiller being the last heavily popularized one. There was Dr. Baird in Florida not long before that. David Gunn was killed in his living room by a right-wing unhinged man. I have had the FBI at my office telling me there are credible bomb threats against my business coming from right-wing men. Like, I don't want to pretend that violence only comes from one side, which is why I don't like witnessing this pendulum swing in a way that I find frightening. Like, I don't want them to just take up the tactic of their enemy and become the people in power who just behave like the gross people in power and keep people in line through terrorism. I don't think we're there yet, but in my lifetime, it was the right-wing men, the right-wingers killing people they disagreed with.
I mean, the only thing that I'm asking these questions about, because I am aware that abortion providers are endangered and threatened with violence pretty regularly and have been historically, for sure, and that people have been murdered, abortion providers have been murdered. I don't know who the murderers were, and so I wasn't sure if it was correct or fair to qualify them as right wing. They're obviously pro-lifers, so I'm just curious about the politics, or if they were just crazy people, or what that was. If they're super religious, or I'm assuming they were super religious.
There was a whole organization called Operation Rescue. They've toned down their rhetoric, but through the 90s and early 2000s, they were actively advocating the murder of abortion providers.
Because I guess they see abortion providers as murderers, so that would be the justification.
In the same way that the Antifa people justify killing Nazis, the people they view as Nazis. Political violence is frightening. So I've had, again, the FBI at my office telling me there are credible threats to my life coming from men on the right. There's a birth center in my town that has had multiple bomb threats because their backup doctor is an abortion provider in town, and they're like, stop being associated with this doctor or we're going to bomb birth center. Like, this is, I know women whose births were disrupted there by bomb threats from right-wing men who, I assume they were men. I mean, men are usually the ones killing people and making death threats. Maybe women called in bomb threats, but by right-wingers who believe violence is justified to stop something they disagree with.
Well, that's not fair. I don't think. Sorry, I don't mean to yell at you.
Yeah.
I do think that it's
And have killed people. They
yeah.
people I know.
But I'm saying that what their rationale for this is not, it's something I disagree with. Their rationale is that they think that abortion providers are murderers.
But
I mean, I don't think it's
the birth
justified. I'm not
center
defending them, to be clear.
The midwives at the birth center aren't providing abortions. They have their backup doctor is an abortion provider, and they get routine threats saying, discontinue your relationship with this man we think is a murderer, or we're going to kill you and women who are birthing at your center.
Yeah. Again,
that's not stopping abortion. That's killing midwives. That's threatening to kill mothers. Like that.
I'm not defending their behavior. I'm not saying that this is like my opinion or that I agree with what they're doing. Obviously, I don't think killing anybody is okay. And I don't think that abortion providers are murderers or that they should be killed for providing abortions. But I think my point is that I don't think that in general, the right has been responsible for advocating or defending violence against their political enemies. I think that there are some unhinged people who are pro-lifers and that that's a specific thing. But otherwise, ideologically, they're not saying this person is a communist, so we should kill them. This person believes that trans women are women, so they deserve to be threatened and murdered and harassed and endangered and fired from their job. Or, you know, this person supports DEI, so we should kill them. Or this person supports like welfare or student loan forgiveness, or like, you know, I should be thinking of crazier left-wing opinions because I think there's a lot of crazier things than welfare, but like, you know, that's the differentiation that I'm making. So like, yes, it's true that you're right, that that's a thing that has happened for a long time and it's really bad and it's really scary. But I still don't think that it's the same as what the rhetoric coming from the left was, which is that, you know, somebody who says something that we believe is racist or transphobic, or I don't know, Islamophobic, or, you know, this person said something to a person of color and that's somehow twisted into something racist. And, you know, the lady in Central Park, the Central Park Karen, who was walking her dog and then was, you know, approached by this scary man who happened to be Black, who threatened her dog, and then she called the cops, and then she's accused of being a murderer because calling the cops on a Black man is a death sentence. It's different. It's different.
Now at where we are in history, that's all true. I think, again, my fear is if it swings so far, we're going to have new problems to complain about that are coming from a different side. I don't want things swinging too far in either direction. You know, I'm like, why can't we just like be a moderate, polite society that agrees political assassinations are wrong, no matter which side of the aisle the person was coming from?
I think we do agree on that. I think that the right agrees that political assassinations are wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think that in general, people who are Republicans would say, yeah, I think that it's fine that these crazy people, these crazy men are threatening to bomb your practice or, you know, should show up and shoot an abortion provider. I don't think so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't asked.
Oh, no, I mean, I know because I grew up in the anti-abortion movement. I've heard plenty of justifications for murder of abortion doctors. But I do want to point out that the birth center thing was not about killing abortion doctors. It was threatening to kill midwives and laboring women because they had a collegial relationship with an abortion provider that they, you know, I mean, that's really unhinged. That's like, really
it's totally unhinged.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just afraid of partisanship and how it addles people's minds and makes people dehumanize the other side.
I mean, yes, partisanship is bad. I agree with you. I don't think that people should be picking sides like left versus right. I think you should be picking policies and ethics that are good. That makes
Yeah.
sense, regardless of how they're defined politically.
Right. And that we should have common ground, but we're so polarized now. It's really frightening. Like even just, talking now, wanting the population to be healthier and free of pharmaceutical dependence is like right wing now. Like this really intense how polarized our society is.
I want to read from Jonathan Chait's article in The Atlantic, because I just want to see what you think. So the article is Trump's dangerous response to the Kirk assassination. And then the subhead is, rather than condemning violence and calling for unity, the president of the United States accused his political opposition of being accessories to murder. And part of the reason that I want to read this is because there's been several people online who have told me, like, why haven't you commented on the fact that Trump called the left murderers? And I was like, I don't think that's what he said. So not condemning a thing that you just invented. Okay. Jonathan Chait writes, if you did not listen to Trump's remarks, which have received only light attention from the media, you might have missed the chilling message they contained. Trump may have sounded like he was deploring violence and calling for unity. In reality, he did the opposite. The speech began and ended with, I've never heard this word before. Encomiums to Kirk's character and family, which is wholly appropriate. The important and dangerous passage came in a sequence of 4 sentences in the middle. So his quote from Trump's little speech thing here. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Steve Scalise.
Scalise. Okay, sorry. Thank you. And 3 others. The radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. So this is, I don't see anything horrible in his remarks. I think everything he said there was fair and true.
I don't think that's especially inflammatory. No. I mean, we just witnessed a political assassination, and he's right that brainwashing people to believe that everyone they disagree with is a Nazi is responsible for so much of this political violence.
It's really weird that he's acting like Trump said something horrible and inflammatory here, I think. Like, I do hold the left accountable for comparing everybody they disagreed with to Nazis, because, there's this like really common question meme that has come up over decades, I think, which is like, if you had the chance to go back in time and, kill Hitler as a baby or something so that he couldn't do the Holocaust, would you do it? And the implication is that that would be a good thing to do, because then, this genocide would have been avoided. So if you are going to call all of your political enemies Nazis, by proxy, their murder is justified. Absolutely. And it is a really dangerous thing to say. Never mind completely untrue and unfair.
Well, and again, check your hypocrisy, folks, when the people calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi are the people who were promoting mandatory GMO shots to the entire population, and, you know, saying we should be locked in our homes and denied food if we refuse to take the experimental GMO shot. Like this, the entire Nuremberg Code that arose as a reaction to what the Nazis did is about no forced medical treatment. That's the entire human rights code of the Nuremberg trials. Like, these people literally acting like Nazis in the true sense of that, and wanting to force experimental medication on everybody. But beyond that, it's, you know, it's inflammatory. It's really unfortunate, because I do think a lot of people on the left believe it. Like, they truly believe Charlie Kirk was as deserving of death as Hitler would have been. Where he wasn't putting anybody in camps. He literally, I mean, he had influence, but he didn't hold a position of political power. You know, how in any way is he comparable to Hitler?
Well, and I mean, I think part of the problem is that, as always, the left never really knows what their political enemies are saying and what they believe. And I think, you know, this was true. Revealed in a lot of the excuses and justifications for the murder of Charlie Kirk were in his support for the Second Amendment. So they were saying, you know, how would they even have said it? He supports gun rights, so that's why he was killed. You know, this guy who murdered him, whose name is Tyler Robinson. You know, if not for things that Charlie Kirk supported, i.e. the Second Amendment, gun rights, this guy wouldn't have had a gun and wouldn't have been able to shoot him, so he got what he deserved. And that in and of itself is a total, and then they kept referencing this quote. And the quote that they took out of context, of course, because this is what they always do, read, I mean, this is what he said actually at an event, Turning Point USA Faith event in April 2023. This is where this quote is from. "You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. That was rational." So that's what they took out of context. But his full answer to a question that was asked of him, and the question was, "We saw the shooting that happened recently and a lot of people are upset, but I'm seeing people argue for the other side that they want to take our Second Amendment rights away. How do we convince them that it's important to have the right to defend ourselves," and all of that good stuff. And Charlie Kirk responds and says, "That's a great question. Thank you. I'm a big Second Amendment fan, but I think most politicians are cowards when it comes to defending why we have a Second Amendment. This is why I would not be a good politician, or maybe I would. I don't know, because I actually speak my mind." And then he says, "The Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment isn't even about personal defense. That is important. The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government." Supposedly the left hates tyranny, so you'd think that they would support this. And if that talk scares you, well, then you have not really read any of the literature of our founding fathers. Number two, you've not read any 20th century history. You're just living in Narnia. By the way, if you're actually living in Narnia, you would be wiser than wherever you're living, because C.S. Lewis was really smart. So I don't know what alternative universe you're living in. You just don't want to face reality that governments tend to get tyrannical. And if people need an ability to protect themselves and their communities and their families. And then he says, and this is such an important part of the context that they left out, and it really epitomizes, I think, the foundational problem with the left today. So he says, "Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That is a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. You could significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian. And then he goes on to say the quote that I read earlier where, I think it's worth it. There are going to be some gun deaths so that we can have the Second Amendment. And I mean, this is like the left lives in a fantasy land. Yeah, like they do.
And if you don't like his argument, he laid out a good argument. Refute his points. Don't just pull one sentence or two sentences out of context and say, he said he doesn't mind a bunch of deaths and he just died by a gun. Like that. It's so dishonest. It's such a dishonest way of engaging with his ideas. What would be great is if you disagree with them, make your point, and maybe you'll convince somebody that what you're saying is more reasonable than the very reasonable argument he just laid out for you.
And what would be the disagreement with that argument? The left literally is arguing against civil liberties at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
How would you defend yourself against a tyrannical government?
These are the same people who tell us all the time that the country is white supremacist and completely rotten to the core. And yet they still want more and more government control of our lives. They don't have good arguments. They don't have cohesive belief systems. They're reactive. They're addicted to safetyism. They're terrified of freedom. They're terrified of risk. Most of them would probably just live in a government issued goo pod where their, cannabis is sent in through the goo and they get all their, the media and the porn that they want, if it meant that they were safe and they would not get any viruses and nobody would shoot them with a gun. I think what we saw in COVID shows that most of them would be happy to give up all their freedoms for the illusion of safety.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point, because it's like, you can't really point out to people that they're giving away their rights and freedoms if they don't want them. And I think that they don't want them. And so they don't understand why other people want them too. Like they don't understand that idea that with liberty does come risk and with freedom does come risk. Like there are scary things to freedom and to liberty, and you have to be accountable for a lot more. It's probably like maybe to them it's more stressful because you have to make more choices and decisions. Like I would prefer to have more choices rather than somebody else making all my choices for me. I'm not, I accept that there are risks to freedom, and I like that. Like I don't want to live a non-life in a goo pod. I've never heard that term before.
This is what I'm envisioning that they would enjoy.
This is cozy.
It rings true though, doesn't it? Like a little amniotic goo pod to live in and just have,
they're just like plugged in. Like they're plugged into their porn or their entertainment or their video games or whatever it is. Yeah. They've got all their antidepressants. They've been totally dulled down. They don't really have any emotions. They don't have a sex drive because of all the drugs that they're being fed. So they're not missing out on sex. I guess maybe they don't need the porn. Then I don't know how that works.
I don't understand how the porn addiction goes with the not having sex, but I guess because porn wrecks your ability to actually have sex, just to be with an actual human person. And yeah.
But and so I think, to them, they say tyranny all the time. Like they say, we're so afraid of authoritarianism and fascism and tyranny from Trump. So they pretend that that's something that they fear. But I think that the reality is that they like it. And that's why they're, supporting and advocating for tyranny, essentially by, suggesting that people shouldn't have free speech or gun rights.
They don't want people to be allowed to say anything that upsets them. They don't want people to be allowed to, leave their house if they might spread a virus. They don't want freedom. They don't want to be able to defend themselves and have guns for themselves because they're afraid of their own, that they might be irresponsible with the gun. I'm not sure. Like they're afraid. I feel like the left is neurotic and afraid. And again, they don't think clearly. If you don't like the arguments that someone's laying out on the other side of the political spectrum, hone your own arguments. Explain why your ideas are better. Don't just try to shut down dialogue and stop discussion. But that's been their MO for a decade and a half now. Just shut it all down.
Shut it all down and misconstrue what people are actually saying, whether that's intentional or just because all of their information comes from their algorithm, so they only ever get secondhand information or third-hand or fourth-hand information. They seem uninterested in ever going to the source. Whatever we're accused of saying that's hateful is usually not literally what we actually said. It's usually turned into this sort of misconstrued, manipulated version of what we said, or it's misinterpreted to mean something else. And Jonathan Chait, I think, just did it there, and then everybody else did it too. Everybody who was saying, "Oh, well, Trump just said that the left was responsible." No, one person told me Trump just said that the Democrats were responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder, and I was like, I don't think so. And then I went and looked it up. I didn't respond because I didn't know. Imagine that. Imagine not just saying something before you know. I was like, that's probably not true. And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, that's not what he said. Like, what are you doing? Did you just read this on your Facebook page and then you're going around stating this as though this is the fact of what he said?
Yeah.
What is wrong with these people? They're not even worried about being stupid. They're not worried about looking stupid. They're not worried about telling the truth or telling lies or anything. They're not worried about whether or not they have any idea what is really going on or what's really being said. And at the same time, they behave as though and believe they're more intelligent than everybody else and more ethical.
Right. That's a core belief for them. They also won't allow themselves to actually listen to an hour of Charlie Kirk speaking because only bad people listen to him. So they can't allow themselves to get the original material because only racists and Nazis and fascists will watch an hour of Charlie Kirk, right? So that their belief system does not allow them to have the facts. They can only regurgitate sound bites that have been fed to them by someone who cherry picked things he has said.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this is that, or one thing that's interesting is that I never really watched that much of Charlie Kirk's debate things. People would send these clips to me all the time, and they were in my algorithm all the time. And I sort of was like, I don't like it's like I don't like this YouTube / social media phenomenon of posting videos and be like, so and so leftist owned by right winger Matt Walsh or whatever. Like, I find it annoying and hyperbolic, and so I think sometimes I assume that what I'm gonna watch is like this really dumb person saying dumb things and then an intelligent person confronting them with reality, and I'm usually like, well, I already know all this stuff. It's like, why do you think there are more than two genders? I'm like, I don't really need to watch this. No. It's like, I've got my arguments clear, thanks.
Right.
But at the same time, I never vilified Charlie Kirk. To me, he seemed like an intelligent guy. Sometimes he'd post things on X that I would disagree with, and then I would sometimes say so and sometimes not. But I wasn't like, he had a lot of different opinions and views than I did. I'm not religious, so I don't really understand and I'm not drawn towards people who talk about God and Jesus all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti-abortion, but I didn't watch this stuff, so I didn't pretend to know what he was about. Like, imagine that. If you're not going to watch, then why are you pretending to know why you're not watching or know, what it is that you don't like about this guy.
Well, it's interesting that both of us could list off many places we disagree with Charlie Kirk and didn't like his opinions, but neither of us would ever advocate for him to be assassinated over our disagreement with him. Like this is just beyond. And I don't think I'm ever going to recover from opening up my Facebook feed right after this assassination and seeing countless people on my Facebook feed celebrating this and being, justifying it and being excited about it. I'm nauseous about it. I can't unsee their glee at a political assassination. Even if you thought the guy was odious and you didn't like the influence he was having on our culture, I don't think these people actually want to live through a civil war. I don't think they actually understand what political assassinations can lead to in a culture. Like, if for no other reason than valuing peace and prosperity for you and your loved ones, you shouldn't be celebrating political assassinations.
Well, and how would the left engage in a civil war if they don't have any guns?
I don't know.
How would the war go?
I don't think the war will go well for them, but you know me, like, I think there are bigger global forces trying to end national sovereignty of the West. I think there are bigger forces ginning up discord. And I think it would just be bad for everyone. I think all wars that actually become a war, not just unrest, are about powerful moneyed interests. I think that's just true for all wars through history. So I don't think it'd go well for anyone.
No, I mean, I don't want any kind of war at all. And I would find it strange if anyone did. Do you think there are people who want a civil war? Have you seen that? Like, I've seen some people say this is war, but I don't know if they literally mean war or they just mean, fuck these people. It's over for the left or whatever. We're canceling the left.
I think they could be ginned into a civil war with how riled up and polarized they are. And and I think the left is more likely to be itching for a civil war than the right now.
I think sorry.
Yeah. Like you said, like I don't see the same level of demonization of individuals for their beliefs at this point. And also the right is armed, more than the left. Like and what we've seen with the Antifa, like that's like ginning for civil unrest. Like I think the left is more excited about armed struggle, celebrating the death of the United Healthcare CEO, celebrating the death of the BlackRock executive. Like really, they are into political assassination and economic, assassination kind of stuff right now. And they are more violent right now. Overtly.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I found it so strange because I saw leftists online acting as though, now that this happened, we're really fearful because the right's thirst for blood and for violence is really going to blow up because they're going to enact revenge on us. And I was just like, where are you getting these ideas from? Because I see the left as incredibly bloodthirsty and responsible for, the vast majority, if not all, of the political violence that we've seen over the last decade, including the BLM riots and things like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And just openly advocating for like the murder of cops and the murder of the CEO of what was his name? Brian Thompson?
I think so, yeah, of United Healthcare.
And glorifying, like turning Luigi Mangione into a deity. They seem really thrilled at violence. And of course, everything that we've experienced around, the men who want to kill us for being transphobes and that's supported by tons of leftists and progressives, men and women alike. Antifa, is obviously openly violent and terroristic. I think that they should be qualified as a terrorist group, to be honest.
Absolutely. They terrorize people and they're violent. And yeah, and I think that the FBI should go back to, understanding that, they're profiling that men who are cross-dressers are more likely to be violent. That was acknowledged through the early 2000s. Like this, there are different groups of people that are much more violent. But I'm thinking Antifa, I'm thinking the Zizian cult that killed all those people, that transgender murder cult that killed multiple people in the US over the last couple of years. So what you want to segue into, like, what do you think about the buzz around who the killer was and the left wing being gleeful when they thought this was a right wing guy? And
I was also told by people online that this was a right wing guy and he was a registered Republican. And again, I went and looked it up because I didn't, at this point, people were saying this to me and I didn't really know very much about the killer yet. I think we do now. And I went and looked it up and I was like, he wasn't registered as an anything. And it appears that he was, a left winger and that he hated Charlie Kirk's views and that there were Antifa slogans on the bullet casings and things like that. And he had a tranny boyfriend.
Yeah, a tranny furry boyfriend. Right. And then all of the DMs that have been released that it's like romantic. I'm doing this we can't let this hate stand. I'm doing this to protect you. I had to do it to protect you, my love, or something along those lines. And now they're silent, or they're saying, well, that doesn't seem true. I think that the Trumpers are just making up those DMs and it actually really was a right-wing guy who killed him, which why would someone on the right kill Charlie Kirk? I could believe I'm always up for a big moneyed conspiracy. Like I could believe that this was a targeted hit by powerful people who didn't like Charlie Kirk because maybe he was too moderate, or there was a lot of buzz that maybe he was converting to Catholicism soon, like that. Charlie Kirk was doing things that were not entirely his very mild criticisms of Israel that were starting to come up. Like that would make sense to me. But no, they're so stupid that they think it's a right-wing individual guy that killed him. Why? How could it possibly be true?
This was my most amusing, repulsive, attempt to manipulate the narrative once they discovered that it was a left-wing guy clip. I'm going to try to share my screen and play this clip of Montel Williams if I can. This is always stressful every time I try to do this. Always like, okay, no, I have to turn the volume up. Sorry, everybody.
When I say this, we're talking about a love-torn child.
Oh my God!
Probably first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally. I think this was a emotionally stunted person who literally, when I say it this way, just hear me, tried to defend his significant other, not trying to defend some ideology.
So what? So what he was saying, essentially. I'm going to read some of these quotes again, just so we have them. Okay. There are people who are trying to pigeonhole this as a leftist thing and a right thing. And what we're really talking about, hear me because I'm going to throw you when I say this. He's so edgy. We're talking about a love-torn child, a kid, and this was probably his first real relationship. And somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. What he was saying was, this wasn't political. This wasn't about left versus right. This was about love.
This is love. It's like Romeo and Juliet, except also a political assassination. Wow. But there was an ABC commentator who said the same thing. He said that this, it's kind of, it's so touching, the love expressed in these messages. And of course he wanted to protect his love, and how can we not all empathize with this murderer, basically was the undertone of what he was saying. And how quickly they pivoted. First, it's a groiper, and now it's a star-crossed lover just trying to defend his furry boyfriend from the hate-spewing Charlie Kirk.
Well, he says, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally. He was trying to defend his significant other, not trying to defend some ideology. Like, how do you make, again, the left has politicized everything for the past decade. And now that there's, a political assassination, political violence, somebody murdered because of his politics and, because of what he was saying about ideologies, because he was challenging leftist ideologies. Suddenly, this is the one thing that's not political and that we shouldn't politicize. And on top of all that, the insanity of trying to say, this was about love, and this guy was just trying to protect his loved one from the mean words of Charlie Kirk, which are saying there's only two sexes. Like, oh, okay, poor guy. That's so sweet.
So unhinged. And he's not the only one who said that. This has become a new talking point to defend this guy. Well, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out and what more information we're going to be fed. And yeah, and just the continued political divide happening. I'm so disgusted by that clip. And I'm thinking of all just the brainless media eaters taking that in. And I wonder if we're going to start seeing that in people's social media clips, if they're going to start regurgitating that as though it's their own idea that they've just been fed by multiple talking heads. It was about love. Killing Charlie Kirk was an act of love.
Yeah, I mean, these people are just so grotesque and manipulative and immoral to me. And it's really hard to take the left seriously at all anymore because they're just so stupid and manipulative.
Yeah, I'm so over it. Right.
I did like what Mike Solana posted about the question of firing people who celebrated the assassination. He said, so he references, Friday, Congressman Clay Higgins went viral after demanding lifelong social media bans for anyone who belittled the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It was a sobering moment for people who aren't brain dead, as we must once again face the dumbest people alive are running our country. No, we aren't passing a law that forces every social media platform in America to ban for life every citizen who heinously belittles an assassination. Should these people be fired from their public teaching gigs? Depending on the post, yeah, I think that's fine. A mother shouldn't be forced to send her child into the hands of a violence fetishizing lunatic. But this is America, and that violence fetishizing lunatic he just does, that's what this country is, have a right to say disgusting things. Now go do the patriotic thing, find these posts online, and tell these people that they're fat and ugly for Charlie.
I think that's beautiful. And I like that. And then as you're saying that, I'm like, oh, what do I really want? Like the person in me that hungers for some kind of unobtainable justice. I think if any of these people posting glee at the assassination, posting pro Charlie Kirk assassination media posts on their social media, if any of them in any way played into the firing of somebody else for their political beliefs, those are the ones who should lose their job. Like this,
totally.
That's
fair.
To me, that's just fair. Like that's justice. If they thought TERFs should lose their job, they need to be out of there immediately. If they thought people should be fired for not taking experimental GMO injection, they should lose their job. Like that I think would be good justice.
That's so many people though, Mary Lou. I mean, think about all of those people who signed a petition to have me fired from Rabble in 2015 for saying that Laverne Cox's nude photo spread in Allure magazine wasn't empowering. And
all of them should lose their jobs if they
that's a lot of people.
posted they supported this, assassination in any way. That is a lot of people. Maybe am I
the
being too
entire
harsh?
Canadian left is going to have to lose their job now. No, I think that would be fair, and I really like this idea. Thank you for bringing it up.
That's the only way I can support it. If you just get your own medicine back, unless they have publicly recanted and came out later with remorse and said they were actually a free speech advocate and they were sorry they had done that, then I'm a very forgiving person. I'm willing to give them grace for that. No. And so what I would imagine, it's a very large overlapping center of a Venn diagram of the people who signed that petition for you to be fired from your job, who also were publicly celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Yes, this is what I think. I would not be in any way surprised at all if every single person who signed that petition openly celebrated and or justified the assassination of Charlie Kirk on social media.
Yeah, close to 100%.
Because they're all like retarded Canadian leftists, and they're proud to post things like that, and they think it makes them seem, I don't know, politically edgy, and for some reason I think they think it makes them seem like very ethical.
Right, exactly. Both of those things. They're proud of it, and they don't like that they're not in power anymore. Things have shifted. It's not 2016 anymore. Yeah. They can't do it. And we're only 9 months into the Trump administration, and we still have over 3 years of them not being federally in power. We'll see what happens in the midterms. I'm hoping for some like good old gridlock, but I live in fear of the Democrats and their current incarnation regaining control of the United States. It terrifies me.
I know. Like, I would like to think that it's impossible because they've just done so many stupid things, but people have such short memories. It's one of the disappointments about human beings, is that they have incredibly short memories and they don't like think about history at all. No. They just react to what happened last week and then erase everything else prior from their brains.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if you advocated to have somebody fired from their job or banned from social media because of their, political beliefs or ideologies, and you celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk, then I guess you're going to lose your job and be banned from social media.
It's the rule.
That's fine. Or if you apologize and you're accountable, I'm with you. Like, I'll forgive somebody if they say, because I've done this, like I had bad political beliefs before. Yeah. And, I think I wrote a blog post like after Rob Ford died being like, but he was a bad man. He wasn't murdered. He died of like a drug overdose or something like that. He was a crackhead. But if you say, oh man, that was a really stupid thing to say, I was immersed in this ideology, that was wrong, I changed my mind, I'm really sorry, then fine. But if you're not even going to admit to and acknowledge that and the hypocrisy, and you're just going to act like shocked and appalled about cancel culture happening to the left now, then.
Right. Well, I would go so far to say not just like you actively tried to get people fired, but my rule of you're going to get the consequences for it now goes to as far as if you thought what happened to Amy Cooper was fair, the wrecking of her life, being scared by a man who made kind of what most women would view as a thinly veiled rape threats by, if I'm going to do what I want and you're not going to like it. And she called the police on him and her life was completely wrecked. Like all of those people who tried to wreck her life. Yeah, I have no sympathy for them if their life is getting wrecked now by their social media posts. I don't.
To that woman.
Yeah, they ruined her.
Cooper is disgusting and unforgivable unless you're going to come out and apologize and say you're wrong and bad.
That incident was the best thing that ever happened to Christian Cooper. The guy is rich now. He's got a platform. He's got his own bird watching show. He is on, he's being platformed on various media outlets. Like that, it was actually a net good by far for him that this thing happened, and her life was wrecked. She was she was like a high power, she's a stockbroker. She was somewhere in finance, and she's unemployable. They took her dog away from her.
I know, they took her dog, and yeah, she lost her job and couldn't get another job. Like, she probably couldn't even go out in public, you know, like.
I can't believe she didn't kill herself. I mean, it was so awful what happened to her. She was definitely, that's the kind of thing that could drive someone to wanting to end their life. The amount of vilification, like, you couldn't turn on a media outlet and not hear about her and see people arguing for her to have. I saw people saying that she should be prosecuted for attempted murder, and then other lefties saying they should bring back the death penalty just for her case. Like, I mean, it was insane how much they went after that woman for doing what I think was, you know, for being reasonably afraid of a man confronting her with violent threats. Yeah, all of those people should, you know, get a taste of their own medicine. Like, these people have been really, really horrible and unchecked.
Demonic.
Yeah.
Demons.
Yeah, it's
Bloodthirsty
hard.
demons.
I don't like watching social media influencers finding some rando who celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder and asking their followers to call that person that they don't even know, to call their employer and try to get them fired. I don't like that. I think it's ugly behavior. I don't think it's any better than what we saw on the left, but I also don't feel so bad for them if they advocated for cancel culture in the past themselves.
Sanmi224 in the live chat says, I still remember with a shudder all the people who were celebrating on social media when Magdalene Burns perished from brain cancer. It was demonic. Like, I remember that too. I remember seeing trans activists posting on social media, like, gloating that she died, and she was so young and she was so great and
so brilliant.
She died of brain tumors and brain cancer, and you're gloating. Like, what is wrong with you? You're gloating because she pointed out that you're a man.
Yeah, I know.
Is that good?
And she said it, and she was so smart. I mean, she was just this brilliant. She had an undergraduate degree in physics, right? And she was a boxer. She was this brilliant, amazingly diverse person in her life, and so charismatic. And all she did was, like Charlie Kirk, lay out her arguments in a really good way that convinced a lot of people to believe what she believed. And instead of debating her, they wished for her death.
Yeah. I want to just say, somebody pointed out to me in the live chat that Rob Ford died of cancer, not of a drug overdose. I have no idea why I thought he died of a drug. I mean, because he was a drug addict. So that's what a
lot of them died.
But it was cancer. But anyway, and not that important, but don't want to spread lies, mistruths, misinformation. Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Somebody in the comments asked, totally unrelated to everything that we've talked about for the entire stream. Somebody in the comments just asked Mary Lou what her recommendations were for, I think she said, alternatives to deodorant and bug repellents.
That's a great question.
And it's a good question. That's why I'm asking. I'm like, this is just a total like segue. I mean, I think it's a good question. I've heard that vanilla is a good bug repellent. We have had a really bad mosquito year in Sayulita this year. Like, I don't normally get tons of mosquito bites, but I've been getting mosquito bites all the time this year. I think normally they spray more or something, or maybe they didn't spray properly, or they sprayed too late or something. And tons of little mosquitoes around, and it's a bit worrying because there's a dengue problem here. So I've never had it, but I know a lot of people have had dengue, and it's really bad. But I don't know. None of my repellents really work that well, but I do have like it must be like lemon balm or lemon balm spray. Like that seems to work. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, lemon balm or citronella. So here's my bug spray that works really well for me. Someone said, Meghan, you're Irish, you're fucked. Mosquitoes love Irish blood. Well, you know, I'm half Irish myself. Maybe that's why I get bitten up so much. I didn't know they liked us like that. So my bug spray, everyone loves the Irish. So the bug spray, I make it and sell at my clinic, and that I've been using for me that works great is I have a talc sage, so an Artemisia oil. So it's Artemisia tridentata, which is a great bug repellent. and bee balm, which is a great bug repellent, and peppermint. And what's my last? Oh, and yarrow. And I mix those all up together in a spray bottle, and I don't get bitten when I have it on. And then the cool thing is, if I forget to put it on and I get bitten, I spray it on the bites, and they're also astringent and anti-inflammatory and antihistamine that the bites just immediately shrink up and don't get itchy. So that's what I use is
Cool.
the herbal bug spray. And then for a natural deodorant, what works well for a lot of people is a slice of lime rubbed under your armpits, and that encourages the growth of your friendly bacteria that don't smell bad, and it suppresses the growth of the stinky bacteria. Give it a try. Give it a try. For both.
Yeah. I've been using natural deodorant for a really, really long time, like probably 15 years or something like that. And I've tried a lot of different kinds of natural deodorant. I've tried making my own. And in Vancouver, for me, natural deodorant worked really well, and I never smelled bad. See in the comments suggested native deodorant. I've used that. It's pretty good. I was using another one for a long time called Curie, Curie, that I liked quite a bit. But what I've discovered that in the summer in Sayulita, none of it worked. I'm just like kind of resigned to being like, I kind of smell bad. By the time it's like a few hours into the night, I've just started bringing my natural deodorant out with me. But like, there's not like I do all sorts of things, and that, it's just I'm sweating so much here, and I don't know, nothing really is working. But I'm gonna try this lime.
Try the limes and report back to us.
People always say, like, people who are fans of the poison cancer deodorant always like, FYI, everybody, your natural deodorant isn't working. And I'm like, no, it does. It works. Like, it works pretty well if you're like clean and showered and like, I don't know, I use like witch hazel and tea tree and things like that. And it works well in many, many contexts, but not in the jungle in the summer. I don't think anything really is going to work.
Try the limes.
But I just have to accept the fact that I'm like, hopefully people like my pheromones.
When you can get limes to like freshen up at the bar, they always have limes at the bar too. So if it's wearing off, just
I'll try it. There are lots of limes here. It's like great news. This country is full of limes. Where there are limes everywhere.
Okay. Any other random
off-topic questions? Does vanilla work? I heard vanilla as a bug repellent. I heard that vanilla works.
No, I tried it all last summer. It didn't work at all. I just, it did not work. Yeah, but so it's Artemisia tridentata, that's Tau sage, and bee balm, and peppermint, and
what's
yarrow.
Bee balm?
Bee balm is Monarda. It's really great plant in the mint family. That's it's antiviral. It attracts good pollinators, but it repels biting insects and insects that hurt your garden. So, okay,
this is great news. Mamas and Papas says essential oils are dangerous. Warning. No, they're not. That's ridiculous.
That's a whole other debate. We can't get into that tonight.
I use essential oils for everything. Like I use tea tree for like zits and cuts and, ingrown hairs and all sorts of things. And I use essential oils, and like I make a cleaning spray with essential oils, and it's fine and it smells nice. And I use essential oils for all sorts of things. I don't think it doesn't make any sense to me that essential oils would be dangerous. Like maybe if you drank a ton of essential oils, they would be dangerous. I don't really buy that.
Yeah, that's a whole other controversial subject.
Okay. Yeah. Then let's talk about it now. we can talk about it another time.
It resolved. All right, I should probably get going. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I post these streams afterwards on Substack at meganmurphy.ca. It will also be on Mary Lou's Substack, which is at Mary Lou Singleton. And I also upload them to Spotify. If you just search for Where Are All the Women, that's where they will be. We're here live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific. 9 p.m. Eastern. And that's all I can think of. So I hope
did we want
everyone.
to mention GenSpect?
Oh yeah, we're going to be at GenSpect. Is it September 27, 28? Am I getting the dates
Yes,
right?
September 27th and 28th in
In
Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I posted the link to the conference below in the show notes. I think they're still selling tickets, so get
They
tickets
are.
and come say hi. And I'm pretty excited. I have realized recently that I have not left Sayulita, I think, since November. So I think I haven't left in about a year, and I think I'm losing my mind. It is a pretty intense year, I'll say that. A pretty intense year. And I know that I need to get out and like visit the real world for a minute. And I'm really excited to see all these people that I engage with online and that I've had on my podcast in person. That's going to be really fun. I'm excited to see you, maybe see like a witch or something. As I mentioned to you earlier via text, I think I need an exorcism.
We'll
on
get you
account of
hooked
the
up.
man, obviously. And I think last time I was in Albuquerque, I had to go see a witch so that she could exorcise me from this other man. This was a different man. This was before I came here. So I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah. Jesus Tita's got you hooked up. She said we're going to do it on Saturday. So we just have to get a space. All right. We can leave the conference for your exorcism.
I think I need to clear some space in my brain or something like that. And I can return refreshed and not insane. So I am looking forward to seeing people at GenSpect and also seeing you. But we'll be back on Wednesday before that in any case.
All right.
Oh, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Mary Lou. Bye.